On today's show,
The Warriors are the fastest in NBA history to 50 wins, but can they reach that iconic number 72?
will AD earn an extra $23 million because of an award? Does Steph Curry celebrate too much?
And Lily quizzes Hawks All-Star Al Horford about NBA father-son combos.
It's Tuesday, February 23rd. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast or joining us on NBA TV and or YouTube, we're happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tess Mellis.
If you didn't know, the color green is in.
To his right, it's the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, wearing green. That's Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lily.
And last, certainly not least, it's Starters blog editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
TK, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at #TheStarters. And guys, we had some fun with Lee the last time he was on the road, back when he went with the Don Johnson Miami Vice
yeah.
t-shirt under a blazer looking Cleveland. But last night at the Fortress, Lee stepped his game up, threw on a collar end, came out looking like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11. Watch your back, Andy Garcia. But it brings us to today's question. What character should Lee dress like the next time he's out on location? For me, personally, gotta be Austin Powers. Frilly lace cravat and all, very shagadelic, baby, yeah. Whatever it is, send us your best answers at #TheStarters, and we'll pick out an outfit for him a bit later.
All right, get those tweets in. I can't wait for those tweets later in the show. All right, we have a fun show tonight. Lee, actually, when he was down at the Fortress, he had a chance to talk to Al Horford. You quizzed him on NBA father-son combos, so we'll get to that. And Kristen Ledlow will join us live from Washington, D.C. to get us ready for the Pelicans-Wizards game. But let's start with a little up-down report. If you're new to the show, we figure out where the four of us stand on some hot-button NBA topics. We ask you to play along on Twitter, up or down, #TheStarters with your answers.
Nicely done.
Well
More
done,
like,
TK.
where do we sit on these?
You're so quick. You're so quick. All right, first one. Guys, the Warriors became the fastest team to 50 wins in NBA history last night. They picked up the 102-92 win over the Hawks. Didn't come easy. They led by as many as 23. The Hawks stormed back. They took a lead in the fourth, but Golden State clamped down defensively. They limited the Hawks to only 17 points in that fourth quarter. So with the win, the Warriors stay ahead of the 72-win pace of the 96 Chicago Bulls. And we got to ask it. Are you up or down against, for everyone watching at home, are you up or down on the Warriors making history by winning, let's say, 73 or more games? Up or down?
Yeah, nice thumbs.
Who
nice
doesn't want to
thumbs.
see this, really?
It's not that I don't-
exactly
It's not that I don't want to see
Yeah.
it, but I am going to go down.
Why?
Why is
I
that?
think that when you still look at the schedule, there are some monster names of teams that they still have to play. Mainly the Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. 5 times they still have to play those two squads. A lot of those on the road, a lot of them in back-to-back situations. I think they're just going to drop a couple of them. And I actually truly believe they're going to finish exactly with a 72-10 record. I really do. I don't think they're going to get over
But
it.
even if they split these, they lose 3 of them. That's still another 2 losses they can take sometime in the next 30 games, basically. So I think they can do it. I'm looking forward to see it because they have something to play for, right? The Spurs are chasing them. The Spurs are going to
sure.
want to come and get
Yeah.
that number 1 seed. So the Warriors actually have something to play for, and it seems like they want to do it. It's something they've been talking about all year long, and it just seems like another little bit of motivation for them going into the playoffs.
When the Bulls did that and made that record, it was thought that won't be beaten. And now to have a team actually within touching distance, I would love to see it happen because I think it would just be great for the game and it'd be great for the league. Because the Warriors still, to me, don't get the respect they deserve for winning that championship. People say they got teams that were injured and they, sort of got lucky at the right time. I think we're seeing that this Warriors team deserves everything they've gotten so far, and it'd be great to see them get another record.
I think the biggest obstacle they face is themselves. I don't care about their record or their schedule coming up. It doesn't mean anything to me. They have given us no reason not to believe in them whatsoever. And I think they're motivated. Yeah, they have 3 games on the road against the Spurs and the Thunder. Actually, a really tough Florida trip coming up this week.
now.
That's always tough. But to me, if they want to do it, they can do it. Are they motivated enough? And I think they've shown that they are. So they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I brought that up that they got to play the Spurs and the Thunder, but they are a perfect record against the top 5 teams in terms of standing-wise in both conferences. I mean, they take care of the good
taking
teams.
care of both of those teams.
I think it's going to be so close, but I will go 72-10. Let's hear from you guys. All right, next one here, guys. After scoring 59 points on Sunday, it's obvious Anthony Davis is trying to get his team, the Pelicans, back in the playoff race, but he also has a cool $23 million on the line this season. if AD makes any of the All-NBA teams this year, he's eligible for that Derrick Rose rule provision. If he doesn't make All-NBA, he loses out on that sort of extra cash. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on Anthony Davis making one of the All-NBA teams this year? That's all it takes.
He should. He
I'm with you guys on
definitely
this one.
should.
I'm with you guys.
What position, though, is the question.
Yeah, it's absolutely right.
Is that what the provision says? Does it matter?
Well, because as a forward, there are only 6 spots available on the 3 teams, and the 6 other forwards that I think are really going to be pushing for it are all in the playoffs, and we're all All-Stars as well. He was an All-Star, we know that. The other guys, though, are in the playoffs. He won't be in the playoffs.
Be tough.
So
I mean, he has a better chance as a center in a
That's-
weird way, and he's played 55% of his minutes at that center position.
So that will be interesting how they actually define him as a centre or a forward.
Yeah, you look at the competition. I mean, look, can we agree that probably those first 4 names at the top there are locks?
Yep.
LeBron, Durant, Kawhi Leonard, and Draymond Green. And then for
Yeah.
only 2 more spots, and AD would be in the mix if they count him as a forward, you know, it's guys like Paul George and Dirk and Bosh and Aldridge. I mean, there's more guys we're even leaving off there, like Melo and so on. So, yeah, it's tough. I think he has a better chance as a center.
He's got to be one of the best 15 players in the game. And I don't care about his record. I think voters are really well aware of the situation going on in New Orleans. They have a baked-in excuse. I mean, the injuries are real. And the roster that's going to flip next year is real. He's got to be one of the best 15. He is.
Yeah, and it's basically 9 spots, like we're saying. 6 forwards, 3 centers. He's one of the 9 best big guys in the league so far this year. People are going to say he's not as good as he was last year, but that's only because people expected him to average 30 and 15 this year, which
His
is
numbers,
really our
his
fault.
numbers are nearly identical.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you throw out those first 10 games when the Pelicans were a definite mess, he's been doing his thing ever since. So I kind of think Anthony Davis has been one of the 6 best forwards, definitely been one of the 3 best centers, so one of those spots has to be his. Cha-ching!
And it's surprising that he's played more of his minutes at center
Yeah,
this season when
yeah.
you think about it. You wouldn't coming into the season if Omer Asik was healthy, that probably wouldn't have happened. But the centers that he's sort of rivaling with for the All-NBA, it's DMC, DeMarcus Cousins, also on a losing team, Andre Drummond, DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
That's it.
DeAndre's the only non-All-Star out of that group, so you figure he would probably get in worst-case scenario over DeAndre.
It definitely helps. I mean, this is obvious. It definitely helps if you're on a winning team to make an All-NBA squad. But the last 2 years, we've seen guys like DeMarcus Cousins last year. He was on a losing team. He made the All-NBA. And the year before that, Kevin Love was on that 40 and 42 Minnesota Timberwolves team. And he made an All-NBA when he was putting up those monster numbers. I think the odds are pretty high he's going to get that extra.
He just has to put up a 59-point game in Game 82 right before the votes
It definitely
come out.
helps. It
Then you're
definitely
in.
helps. All right, next one here, guys. The Miami Heat, they picked up a 3rd straight win with the 101-93 overtime victory over the Pacers on Monday night. The win was big for a couple of reasons. It avoids a scenario where Indiana would hold a tiebreaker over the Heat. And thanks to the Wolves beating Boston, Miami is now tied with the Celtics for the number 3 seed. So the question is, up or down on the Heat being the 3rd best team in the East? What do you think?
I'm not buying it whatsoever.
No?
No.
Why not?
I'm going down
Well,
to
they've played 3 games since the All-Star break to get them into this 3rd spot. They've had a very, very plum schedule. First game, they beat a flailing Hawks team. Second game, they beat the Wizards on the 3rd end of a back-to-back-to-back.
Right.
The only back-to-back-to-back in the league this year because of Jonas. Storm Jonas really causing problems.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Pacers, who were on that Florida trip on the second night of a back-to-back, barely in overtime. That doesn't happen in the postseason. You don't get any teams on a back-to-back. I'm going with the Celtics or the Pacers. I think it's a coin flip, but I would probably go with the Pacers just because of the star power on that team, and they've sort of found their way with Miles Turner at the 4 spot.
Yeah, but they keep on beating the Pacers, and they've got a really good defense for me. And the Pacers and the Celtics, both of those teams are inconsistent. They're frustrating when you watch them. So I think part of the reason the Heat are the 3rd best team is because the other teams just aren't better than them. I think it's clear that the Raptors are 2nd and the Cavs are 1st.
Yeah.
And after that, then you've got the Pacers, the Celtics, the Hawks,
There's a
the Wizards.
lot of teams.
All
The
those
Hornets
teams.
are suddenly playing well, yeah.
And
No
that-
Christopher
that's-
Bosh has to come into it, though.
Yeah, well,
we don't know the stats.
That's true. And if Chris Bosh comes back, then I think there's no doubt they're the 3rd best team. But if he is out, then it does change things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're the 3rd best team if they're healthy. They might be the 2nd best team if they're healthy, but we don't know what's going on with Chris Bosh. You can't count on Dwayne Wade for sure being healthy the rest of the season. They're 8th best in the Eastern Conference in point differential, which is pretty low. But I don't know. If they're healthy, they're up there. If they're not, they're still in the mix for 3rd,
Yeah.
but I don't think so.
I think I lean towards the Celtics, actually. I know you had them in the mix there. Celtics still top 10 team offensively and
been great.
defensively. They play quick pace. They don't have the star power of maybe your Heat or your Pacers with Paul George, but they're still a solid team. And Brad Stevens, I think, maybe the best coach of those 3 in the mix. Let's hear from you guys. Final one here. Back to that Warriors-Hawks game. Steph Curry, he crushed the hopes of that Atlanta comeback last night when he drilled that late 3 in the corner, and then he shimmied right in front of the Hawks bench. Now, he told Jared Greenberg, NBA TV's Jared Greenberg after the game, that he was poking fun. of his friend and former teammate Kent Bazemore, but some people still upset by this. So I want to know, are you guys up or down on Steph's shimmy shake?
I'm good with
Everyone's
it.
fine
Do
with
it.
it?
Do what you got to
Oh,
do.
yeah.
I'm more upset with the Hawks side of things. If that guy does, if an opposing player who's kicking your butt does that right in front of your bench, you got to get up and say something. I mean, that's your job. That's what you have to do. If the NBA is soft in any way, it's that. I mean, it's just being vocal, and just that to me is soft. You don't have to get up there and throw a bow at him.
Just yell at him.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody on that bench has to get up and just get the camaraderie going with that team. There's something wrong with this Hawks team this season. There's chemistry issues. They're not all together. Somebody has to be up and yelling at Steph. I don't care if he celebrates. It's the other side that I'm upset with.
Nobody thinks that's warrants a taunting foul?
No.
What is this, the NFL?
I'm just asking it. I'm just asking.
Listen, that was an emotional game. It was a close game. The Hawks came back, and then Steph had that big shot then, which kind of pretty much separated them. His emotion took over. It was right
Who
there.
cares? He's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
He's doing crazy things every night. You should be able to celebrate when
Yeah.
you're doing things that people haven't seen. Even
Yeah.
if it's in somebody else's face, make him stop you.
So it matters
Yeah,
who
exactly.
did it then. If that's J.R. Smith or Swaggy P doing that in the corner, or
I'm
some of us
personally
maybe
pro
don't?
celebrations no matter who
Okay,
it is,
okay.
but especially in Steph's case.
Yeah. Well, Steph, look.
Look, I mean, he's
this
right
isn't
there,
just last
you know,
night.
yeah.
Steph celebrates, and then the Warriors do because they've been killing teams all year long. They celebrate quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
And if you're
they
fine
back it
with-
up.
well, yeah, like look at this one. This one he just stares at him.
Yeah, because they're talking to him as well. That's
Of
why he
course.
turned around. Yeah.
Of course. That's exactly right. And that's a good point. If he turns around and shimmies or looks at them, and you wanted to call that as a taunting foul, then shouldn't you be calling the guys yelling from the bench?
Exactly. They're
Hey, you're
trying
gonna
to put him
miss,
off, yeah.
whatever. You would be calling that a taunting foul.
Yeah.
too.
And they're not really talking trash, right? The Warriors aren't talking trash. They're celebrating their accomplishments, which I think is a little bit different.
Yeah, it is. It is, for sure.
I'm interested to hear what the people out there think. Let us know on Twitter, #TheStars. Do you have a problem with Steph and the Warriors doing the celebrating,
And do you
doing
hate
the shimmy
fun
shake?
as well?
Do you hate fun?
Do you
Yes or
hate
no
fun?
on hating fun?
I don't hate fun. I like fun.
All right, when we come back, Lee plays Who's His Daddy with Hawks All-Star Al Horford. If you like fun, come on back.
Welcome back. We've got a doubleheader on NBA TV's Fan Night tonight, featuring a couple guys who recently scored 50. Damian Lillard and the Blazers take on the Nets in the late game, and Anthony Davis's Pelicans visit Washington to take on the Wizards, and that's where our Kristen Ledlow joins us from. Kristen, thank you for joining us tonight.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Speaking of AD, you talked to him about his 59-point performance, pretty unreal, and he had a bold proclamation about it.
That he did. It's after I informed him that since 1983, only 2 other guys had notched 50 points and 20 rebounds in a game. And once he found out it was the guys we work with, Shaq and Chris Webber, he guaranteed me that it will happen again soon. I asked him about that performance, though, and he said that when he got out there against Andre Drummond, that the first couple he let go, Andre was actually up in his face so far that it forced the arc on his shot to be a little higher than usual. And he said after those first couple of shots, he just knew it was going to be one of those nights.
Now, the Wizards are well aware AD is coming off this monstrous performance, but as John Wall told you, they have the kryptonite.
Yeah, well, something like that. John told me that when he watched AD's performance back, he said that the defense in Detroit failed to double down on Davis. And that's one of the things that Coach Gentry actually echoed earlier to me today. He said that as long as they're not going to double team him, I'm going to keep giving him the ball. So John told me that he'd like to see the Wizards double in on him a little bit and force that offense to open up as well.
As for the Wizards, it's been a terrible season for them thus far. All the talk around them has basically been about Kevin Durant coming there. They're 3.5 games out of the playoff picture, and that doesn't sit well with their leader, John Wall.
Yeah, and he talked to me about his frustrations with lack of consistency, with defensive breakdowns, with injuries. But listen to this, what he said a little bit earlier today.
It's kind of frustrating at times. My last 2 years, I made it to the second round of the playoffs. I definitely don't want to throw another year away when I feel like we can be even better than what we was the last 2 years. I mean, I understand what our organization and what they want to set our goals high for this upcoming summer, but right now we have a team that we want to be able to win and be able to be in the playoffs and compete for whatever we give ourselves opportunity for.
Now, when the Wizards acquired Markieff Morris, John Wall said that Morris would probably be the piece to get them over the hump. Do you think Wall still feels that way 2 games into this Morris era?
Yeah, from what he said, they've just got to work on that chemistry. Of course, that's going to happen in any offense, at any franchise. But one of the things he did say is that he wanted to secure a stretch 4 position. And they got that in Markieff Morris. And one of the things that John told me is that acquisition kind of said to him that this franchise is still looking to win now. They're not just waiting to see if, hopefully, fingers crossed, KD decides to come back home to the D.C. area. But acquiring Markieff Morris said that they still have faith in this team right now making a playoff push.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you tonight on Fan Night.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, guys, when we come back, I lied to you the last time, but when we come back, Lee talks to Al Horford and plays a game of Who's His Daddy? You're watching the Starters. Welcome back to the Starters. We asked you earlier in the show for some reason which character should Lee dress like the next time he's on location. And a few of you hit us up on Twitter, #TheStarters, and Trey's got the best answers.
Yeah, some great answers. Sebastian says Abraham Lincoln, get you a stovepipe hat, let you borrow my beard. Not a bad idea. I like what Peter Hansen says, Bruce Lee, hopefully in that yellow suit, looking tough.
Or shirtless.
And of course, NBA Extraordinaire says Legolas from Lord of the Rings, get you pointy ears, long blonde hair. I think they're onto something.
I have actually been referred to as Legolas before.
Why?
People think because of my pointy ears.
Are they that pointy? Can we get a shot of his
Yeah.
ears? Are they all that pointy?
Yeah,
No, they're not.
Well, yeah, see, look, they're a little pointy.
Okay, that one
Yeah.
sort of
Maybe
is.
it's the right one.
Legolas.
They need a little clean.
Well, look, you did a great job, of course, down at the Fortress last night. We know you bothered Kyle Korver, your shooting coach, Kyle Korver, but you also talked to Hawks All-Star Al Horford. You had some fun with him.
Yeah, so I caught up with him and I played a new game called Who's His Daddy? I'm here with Al Horford from the Atlanta Hawks. Al, basketball runs in your family. Your dad played here in the NBA. Now you're playing, and tonight against the Warriors, Steph and Clay, both of their dads played in the NBA. So I want to test your trivia knowledge of fathers and sons in the NBA. You want to play?
Let's do it.
I'm going to give you 2 clues, and you can tell me if you know the father and the son connection. This father was a shaggy-haired MVP and a 2-time champion. His son, while not an MVP, was also a 2-time champion with the LA Lakers.
Yeah, Walton. Bill Walton and Luke Walton.
That was easy. The shaggy-haired one got you, yeah. All right. The father was known for his unique free throw shooting style, and his son won an NBA dunk contest.
Barry. Rick Barry.
And,
His dad is...
well, Rick is the dad.
Rick is the dad, and then the son would be Rick Barry? Brent. I was trying to blank on the first name.
That was a little bit tricky because he has the 2 sons. This one is a former All-Star for the Atlanta Hawks and a championship coach, never won an NBA championship, but he actually coaches his son.
Doc Rivers and Austin Rivers.
Easy. This is a bit too easy for you, right? His father was a sharpshooting 6-man. His son's also a sharpshooter, and his son recently overtook dad in the amount of 3-pointers made.
Del Curry and Steph Curry?
That's, what's that, 4 for 4, I think? You're doing pretty well. This father played in the NBA, he also played in Europe. His son is well known and sometimes goes by the nickname of Vino.
Of Vino? Wow.
This guy's a 5-time champion.
Oh, well, Kobe.
Easy one.
Yeah, there you go.
His father was a first player born from a certain country who played in the NBA. The son, 4-time MVP and a 2-time national champion, though no NBA titles.
4-time All-Star. I think I had to say that's my dad and I.
Well done.
Al Horford. What a gentleman.
Hope
Yeah.
Brent Barry wasn't watching.
Yeah, sorry, Bones.
Just before we get on here, just watch how he corrects me in this without making me feel bad. His father was a first player born from a certain country who played in the NBA. The son, 4-time MVP and a 2-time national champion, though no NBA titles.
4-time All-Star. I think I had to say that's my dad and I.
Wow, right away.
quick.
You
He
said
knew.
4-time MVP.
Yeah,
Goes
I
right
know.
away.
It just came out. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
And he was on the ball.
Yeah.
Smart man.
I also like that you just took Kobe as an answer. Didn't have to worry about Kobe's dad at all.
Kobe's dad, yeah. It was a given.
All right. Well, thanks to Al Horford, of course, for that. You were down, of course, at the game. You took in the game, so you saw history, as we already talked about. The Warriors' fastest team to 50 wins ever. But how weird was it to be there last night compared to about a year ago, early February, when we all went down to watch the Warriors and Hawks play last season when they were both the best two teams in the league at that point.
Yeah.
That was an incredible game.
It was an incredible game. And last night what was really special was the Hawks started off so badly, but then in the third quarter they actually started playing like that team
Like
we
that team
knew
from a year ago,
last
yeah.
year. Yeah, like the ball was moving around defensively, they were great. And then the Warriors were kind of stunned a little bit into action, and then they bounced back and do what they do, and they sort of, I think it was a 10, 12-point margin in the end. Whatever it was, the Warriors certainly seemed somewhat rattled and really had to pick up their pace, and the Hawks just couldn't quite get over the hump. But a great atmosphere, and it was funny watching people last night. Everyone seemed dressed up last night. Everyone seemed to bring out their best clothes for the Warriors.
Yeah, you wore that giant collared shirt underneath your jacket. I know what you're talking about.
Ah, it was amazing.
Everyone was looking like Brad Pitt.
They knew it was a big night out, so everyone wore their best.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, when the Warriors come to town at this point, it's
You
the
have to
biggest
look
game
good.
of the season.
I
Yeah.
hope it wasn't drafty in there, because it would have been going right down that chest.
All right, when we come back, Lily with very solid play of the night. Back with the starters, and I am once again in trouble in the pick and play contest. But tonight's game, we're picking between the Kings and the Nuggets. Tass and I have the Nuggets at home. Trey and Lee say the Kings on the road. Another tough one to pick. Really flip a coin, but I'm horrible at that as well. Lee, very solid play. Where are we going?
We're heading out to the Garden, and it's a beautiful play here from the Knicks. A simple one, touches all 5 players, ends with a beautiful three-pointer, not a swish bomb. That would have made it perfect. But look at this again. Starts there with Galloway, Mello, and finishes with Lance Thomas for a 3, and that's what I call a very solid play.
Is that the one good play from the Knicks last night?
Yeah, probably.
Way
But
to
that was a
find
good
it.
one. Hey, why not?
Huge win. We got some, well, I was going to call them fan signs, but fan sand, I guess.
Yeah, this one is a bit controversial. It comes in from Gabby, who was on the beach in Cuba. But I think she's put in a great effort, so I think it's great. The next one comes from Jay in Sacramento. He put this one together. Really good job there. Not a lot of colour, but great stuff.
Nice shading.
Alex and Steph couldn't get to our live shows at Real Sports during the All-Star Week. They promised us a sign, and they delivered. Well done, guys. S. Meyer was also in Toronto, and he put together this one and had the cowboy hat to boot, so great. Sheena was at the queue, and look at this sign. Look at all the colour and all the starterisms on there. There's even a shout out to Big Krogger Dogger. I think that's the first time we've seen that in the TV show. And then the most weirdest sign we've ever received, but the
Amazing.
best.
That's great.
Comes in from Kevin and Tyler in Oklahoma, and as you know, we love weird. We love that sign. Great job, everybody.
That sign's incredible. That sign's
Amazing.
incredible. Keep them coming,
Amazing.
guys. NBA TV, quick Twitter poll. Who has a better chance at going for 50 plus again tonight? AD or Lillard? People say Lillard.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, a triple-double is just a bunch of numbers. A pretty cool bunch of numbers, but just a bunch of numbers.
Brace the night, people.